An intriguing event took place in the 12th century in Suffolk, England. Two small children with green skin arrived in the village of Woolpit and is documented in two primary sources, William of Newburgh's Historia rerum Anglicarum and Ralph of Coggeshall's Chronicum Anglicanum. According to these accounts, during the reign of King Stephen, from 1135 to 1154, some of the villagers of Woolpit discovered two children, a brother and sister, near one of the wolf pits, which gave the village its name. The children were described as having green-hued skin, spoke an unknown language which sounded like gibberish, and wore unusual clothing. The villagers took the children to Sir Richard de Calne. He was a knight who took care of the children after they were found, provided for them, and attempted to gain understanding of their origins. Both were offered food, but did not eat anything. Until one day they happened to be in the de Calne's garden and noticed green broad beans which they ate. Richard de Calne took the children to be baptized in a local church. However, the boy died soon afterwards through an unknown illness. Unfortunately, the boy, who already was very weak, died early on. Even through the villagers' best efforts, the boy's health continued to deteriorate. He struggled to adapt to the new environment and food.
The girl is said to have worked as a servant in de Calne's household and was given the name Agnes. Agnes eventually lost the green hue to her skin. She adapted to her surroundings and adopted the local customs. Eventually learning the standard English at the time, she recounted her homeland and relayed what happened to her and her brother. She indicated both came from a land called St. Martin's Land, where there was no sun, only twilight, and everything was green. She claimed that both she and her brother had been herding their father's cattle when they heard a great sound that she was now accustomed to hearing at St. Edmund's. The bells were chiming, and whilst listening in admiration they became entranced, and found themselves among you in the fields where you were reaping. Another variation of the story is that they entered a cavern with a narrow passage and traveled through for a long time, and both were then met with a bright light, and the atmosphere was different, and upon the villagers' approach, could not find where they had left. Agnes also recounted that the sun did not rise, and alluded to a perpetual twilight, describing it as preceding the sunrise or follows the sunset. Moreover, they could see a certain luminous country, not far distant, but divided by a very considerable river. Also that there were churches there. Agnes worked for many years for Sir Richard de Calne before marrying the Archdeacon of Ely, Richard Barr. Theories. There are theories of the children having some blood disorder or being Flemish, persecuted, and then being left orphaned. However, wouldn't the villagers have been familiar with the Flemish language, especially an educated Richard de Calne? Also, since Flemish immigrants had been notably artisans, would their style of clothing be noticed? Something in the uniqueness of the material and coloring made the clothing seem otherworldly to the villagers. Overall analysis, the description of her home by Agnes, and the fact that the villagers found their clothing unusual, does seem to support a possible subterranean dwelling. There are cultures throughout the world who have had below-ground dwelling. These type of dwellings could provide protection from invaders and the elements. There may have been a reason why the people were in the underground. To use a name like St. Martin, there might have been a connection to the above-ground world. They may have lived on the land at one time, and for whatever reason a group was compelled to hide and dwell in an obscured, safe place. Initially, it may have begun as a persecution, and the people found a dwelling place to be secure. Over time, the history of what occurred could have faded from their memories, and they did not know the way out of their homeland. Also, since the children were young, the children probably were not acquainted with their homeland's history. What do you think? Do you believe these children were from an underground homeland?